Good evening, legends. Being we're still in holiday season, volatility has actually been somewhat low recently, but I want to talk about some price levels I'm watching, my personal opinions about the market, a couple strategies I like to use when it comes to scalping, as well as risk management, even take a look at some of the new indicator updates and that sort of thing. So, as always, I'm going to start out on the weekly chart here, zoomed way out just to kind of get an overall feel for the market. You guys know for, well, this entire year, all of 2023, I think since, what was it, last November or so, I was kind of looking at this level, that 618, as a potential target for where this bull market really does suffer a serious correction, I guess. And obviously, that's basically on everyone's radar now. The question is, are we going to still see those levels? That's up more towards 48, even up towards $50,000. I personally still think that, the market's not looking too bad. It is starting to look a little bit weak. Momentum does kind of look like it's running out. But we are also just consolidating on top of the .5 fib, kind of right in the middle of this trend, basically. So the fact that we are still actually climbing through these Fibonacci pockets, I don't really see reason to be all too alarmed yet. Yeah, there's a little bit of weakness. We're not holding on top of this fib perfectly with our candle body closes, but you can see that it's still definitely a line of interest on the macro time frame here. So another thing I want to point out is this money flow. I haven't looked at this in a long time, but so this is the advanced oscillator down here. What we have right here is this little green cloud, and this is on a weekly time frame, and this is money flow. So the fact that there is actually money coming into the market, which is driving this price pump, and now that we're just trading sideways, and it still looks to me like there is money coming into the market. So at the end of the day, guys, money talks. I mean, if there is money coming into the market, especially if that's pushing the spot prices, rather than just derivatives taking the wheel, I mean, that's just adding a little bit of strength, in my opinion. And I don't see why it's unrealistic that we would end up reaching this 618 Fibonacci still. Obviously, anything can happen at this point. Really, this whole range is fair game for a rejection, but I'm not all too bearish yet. I'm still cautiously bullish, I suppose. I'm more so scalping smaller time frames at these levels because I don't really have a strong opinion as we're trading right into resistance here. I just wouldn't be all too surprised to see us get one last little pump up here. Not only is it the 618 fib rejection point, which has been very significant in every other market cycle. I mean, we can look back. I know I talk about this in every stream pretty much, but we always get that harsh rejection at that 618, and then after we get candle bodies closing above it on the weekly, then it's just full throttle. So, I mean, that happened the last two market cycles. Does it have to happen again? Absolutely not. It's just obviously in the past, it's been a significant level in the market. So, on top of that Fibonacci level, it's also still just a nice structure level here. And I would actually argue that we might get a little bit of a squeeze even past that a little bit. It's hard to say because right now, obviously, maybe that's getting front run and we do see a correction a little bit sooner. And when we come back and test into this box from kind of this support back here, I do think when we see our very serious correction, it is going to, we're going to have to see what happens in this blue box. I think it's going to be very telling moving forward, unless we get some kind of a black swan that wicks us through, kind of like what happened last cycle with COVID. Other than that, I think once we reclaim this support level, I mean, the market structure is looking great on a longer time frame. So the overall health of Bitcoin, not concerned at all. But, we just have to brace ourselves that eventually there is going to be a harsh correction, most likely testing some of this old support levels down here. So, but yeah, like I said, if we're not front running this right now and we do get that last pump to the upside, I think it would also make a lot of sense that we even just test a little bit above this structure level, just kind of a bit of a failed break, just a little bit of a wick above. So I would actually be willing to call the resist more somewhere in there, where if we do see a bit of a pump past, that 48,000 level, don't necessarily get blindsided with FOMO. It's possible that it is just a little bit of a fake out a little bit higher. maybe even all the way up towards 52,000. If we blast right through that level, I will actually be quite surprised. I think a lot of people will. So, I mean, absolutely, that could be a possibility. Maybe the market makers do just end up squeezing the market above this level, and we just continue staircasing higher and parabola on. Who knows, right? But as it stands right now, resist is resist until it's broken, and I think this is very significant resistance here that we're about to face on the weekly if we do get that one last pump to the upside. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit from there. I'm going to take a look at the daily chart here. Just some key levels that I'm watching right now. Once again, that same blue box. That would just be basically, I'm going to call this phase one of the bear market because it's just where we consolidated before we took that nasty capitulation for the second phase here. But taking that support level from the phase one of the bear market there, you can see that we ended up turning it into resistance here for several months. So I think it makes a lot of sense that if we do come back, that's the nice thing about Bitcoin right now, you guys, is that it has built some beautiful support along the way. So I think as far as the long-term trend goes, it's actually in a very beautiful place. Market volatility is totally normal. If this was... it sounds ridiculous to think that we might pull back towards that $32,000 to $28,000 level if we are to retest this box. That feels like it would be a crazy dump and it would be real scary to go through and all that sort of thing. But if this were a 5-minute chart or an hour chart, even a 4-hour chart, anything like that, this would look totally normal. Nobody would second guess it. Everything, all emotions would be totally fine. But the fact is that if you're unable to zoom out and you aren't expecting this on a larger time frame, then obviously it feels like the markets are just going completely irrationally. But at the end of the day, it's just another chart pattern just playing out on a longer time frame. So as it stands right now, I would really like to see that blue box hold. If we do get some sort of a scam wick through or some sort of a capitulation from a black swan event, I'm really hoping this purple box down here would end up flipping into support. That would be basically where we broke our very serious downtrend here, where we set this low, lower high at this level, struggled at it again here, and then flipped that resistance into support and carried on higher. So very significant level in the market. I'm really hoping that if we would drop that blue box, that we would find support there. If not, I mean, then we just got to start targeting some realistic levels, basically pull a Fibonacci at that point. That's where we'd have to consider that, hey, maybe we are coming back down to some of these ridiculously low Fib levels. Like I said, if it was any other time frame, it would look totally normal to test those fibs, so it can absolutely happen on a longer time frame. I'm not so much expecting that, guys, but I'm just saying to be ready for anything, right? As far as the technicals go, it's just good to zoom out sometimes when you're looking at the charts. So right now, I'm going to zoom into the 4-hour, actually. To me, it looks like we're almost forming a bit of a pennant. I would like to see third touch points along this before I consider it much of a breakout. Like if we just end up breaking above this yellow resistance of this pennant here, I wouldn't be taking it all too serious yet, just because it doesn't have 3 exact touch points. And when I'm playing breakouts of patterns, I personally like to have at least 3 touch points, and I like them to be bang on the wicks. A lot of people like candle bodies or the averages, and some people like wicks. I like wicks, and I like them to be exact, and I like exactly 3 of them before a breakout. So if we got something like that, a third touch point, a little pullback, and then get above and retest that level, that's where I'm interested in playing that breakout. But as it stands right now, it's just something to watch for more so. We do have these significant touch points, pretty accurate looking. So, I mean, if we come down and test this, that's another level to maybe look for some long entries. If we get some kind of a failed break there, that might be a good scalp long opportunity. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens here. If we do get some sort of a continuation, almost like an ascending triangle, except it looks more like a pennant to me at this point. But obviously, we're going to have to see what happens. If we do drop that, we still have this range, right? I mean, the resistance is basically, I'm looking at this red box for now on the 4-hour and this green box below here. Just bringing up some of the indicators just to kind of see what we're dealing with on the 4-hour. We have a little bit of mixed signals here. As far as my beloved W's go, these are the reversal warnings that I love watching. You can see that we're just kind of getting a mixture of signals right now. We have this high, higher, high. Then we also set this higher low here, but then we got a warning of a lower low. So, I mean, they're kind of getting mixed signals with that, not really getting a clear indication from anything that way. We're obviously the indicator as well is showing that there's some strong resistance here, right? So that is something that we have to consider, guys. We're seeing supply zones forming at these levels, and they're even starting to overlap each other, hence us getting these brighter red boxes here. But same thing for the other side, right? We still do have a lot of support levels. Like I said, Bitcoin is building some nice support as it goes. So, I mean, as it stands right now, I want to see which way that pennant breaks, honestly. As far as, let's take a look at the DXY I wanted to look at. I haven't looked at this in a long time, but you guys, some of you may have been in this group long enough to remember me talking about the DXY. I'm pretty sure I was live streaming with you guys at this level, and I thought the DXY was about to get rejected. And once again, just going from my favorite tool, other than the indicators, like as far as TradingView tools go, the Fibonacci is the thing that I really use the most. And I really love using that 786, 886 Fibonacci pocket, and even seeing it on the weekly time frame on the DXY here, you can see why. I mean, that pocket gets respected so well. Not only that, but we also had this upward sloping channel here. So we got a perfect rejection along that resistance, which lined up perfectly with the 886 fib pulled top to bottom. And guys, this is 20 years of data. This goes back to 01. So this is a very serious chart. And that's just goes to show how powerful these fib levels can be. So as it stands right now, yeah, you know, the Dixie has seen a little bit of a rejection. Something to watch for right now. There I am seeing just potential for a bounce here, just because looking at the basic structure here, we obviously had this low and we had a lower low. Highest point between those two levels would be right here. And we actually ended up breaking that structure. So a pullback would be totally normal there. That this did technically break that little downtrend it was in. And just looking to where we pulled back right now, yeah, it looks like it's a failed break of that level. But if you really look at it, let's just take a Fibonacci there. Well, look at that, right into the 786, 886 fib pocket. So not saying it has to hold, but you can just tell, you can just see how this level is so often reacted with when you're looking at any charts. That Fibonacci pocket is just such strong confluence in my opinion. So if the Dixie does find a little bit of support here, then yeah, you know what? Bitcoin and the rest of crypto might have a little bit harder of a time moving to the upside. Looking at Bitcoin dominance, actually, that's something I wanted to touch on. And another reason why I don't think Bitcoin's necessarily in too bad of a position quite yet is the price of Bitcoin. Really, on the grand scheme of things here, it's not facing a serious rejection yet by any means. It's really just consolidating in a bigger range sideways like this. And the fact that the price isn't seeing a harsh rejection, it's just kind of trading sideways, and the Bitcoin dominance perfectly respected this resistance trend line I was talking about in my previous stream. So Bitcoin dominance, the focus is shifting off of Bitcoin basically, but the price of it is for the most part holding its ground. So there's still confidence in the market, and that's why I think altcoins are doing quite well, a lot of them anyways. And on top of that, you know, looking at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, this also had a breakout. This is a 4-hour trend line here. Once again, using wicks, perfect wick touches, and then getting that breakout and seeing that significant pump to the upside. So that alone right there, seeing that Ethereum being the main altcoin, breaking out against Bitcoin is always a good sign for the altcoin market as well, on top of Bitcoin dominance getting rejected there. So that's beautiful to see. The price of Ethereum, guys, I noticed this earlier. Look at that beautiful ascending triangle. To me, like, I mean, yeah, it looks like we're struggling to gain some momentum, but as it stands right now, this is a beautiful looking ascending triangle in my opinion. And this is a daily time frame. I mean, does this not ring a bell on a daily time frame of what Bitcoin did? When was it? After it had its descending triangle. Let's see if I can go back all the way here. Many of you may have been around for this time frame, and this wasn't a perfect ascending, but well, pretty much. There was just a beautiful triangle pattern that formed there. I think Tesla ended up having the same thing. Like, there was so many assets that were forming these massive daily ascending triangles. And just looking at Ethereum right now, man, that looks like a textbook triangle, ascending triangle to me. If this thing is about to blow up here, I think altcoins are going to go absolutely nuts. That's a very serious pattern in my opinion. I didn't even notice that until about 5 minutes before starting this stream, but yeah, I wanted to bring that to your attention because it even looks like we're holding this old resistance as support so far. If we end up dropping back in, then, you know, we're going to have to be careful because it might just actually be dropping and going to lose that or actually have downside momentum after a failed break like that. But as it stands right now, man, I am liking the look of that. If we were to get some kind of a measured move, I was looking from where we broke out from. I mean, break out from the top of the triangle, where does that take us? I mean, very close to this resistance level up here. Let's take a look at what Fibonacci's we'd be looking at. That would be right along that 618 fib for Ethereum, actually. That's interesting. Perfect measured move, pretty much. And again, it lines up very close with this structure back here. That's a very nice looking chart. Has anyone been trading Ethereum much? I personally mostly trade Bitcoin. I've been trading like Eng a little bit, Near a little bit, but mostly just because I started accumulating those with spot. So then I started watching the chart a little closer. So I've just been doing little scalps on those as well. But for the most part, I'm just trading Bitcoin. Yeah, Ronald, that 786886 fib pocket, hey. I know ever since I started watching for it a little more, and once I started noticing it, I can eyeball it pretty much everywhere. I mean, right here even. You know, actually, here's a perfect example, you guys, of beautiful market structure for Ethereum. You know, we were setting this series of lower lows. This right here, technically lower low, lower low, lower low. And where's the lower high between all of this? So basically right here would be our lower high, and we ended up breaking that. After we end up topping out, where do we pull back to? Damn near every time. Look at that. Just a quick eyeball and a 786886 fib pocket. So often that after a trend like that breaks, when you then have your first big correction of that, you know, break of structure or whatever, so often you come back and test those lower fib levels. I mean, the 618 is great as well in a strong trend, as well the 382. That's why I have these in yellow, is because I'm sure you guys have noticed that I do color code my fib levels, and that's just because I give more weight to some of them than others. The 382 in a strong trend, that's where you want to see support. But as far as once you end up losing that level, I find so often we end up coming back to that 786, if not 886 fib pocket. And if you can start seeing some, you know, higher W's trending to the upside in those kind of areas, what kind of signals did we have here? Yeah, you know what? Perfect example. I honestly did not expect that at all, but there you go. You test the 786, 886 pocket, get higher trending W's like that. What a signal that was. Just using basically my two favorite trading strategies together in confluence right there. Bam, just absolutely perfect. Beautiful entry there. again, this is obviously capped in hindsight, but this is just kind of how I look at the indicators and how, whether it's longer time frames, shorter time frames. You guys know I'm usually scalping shorter time frames, but market structure all works the same. Same Fibonacci levels are usually getting respected and all that sort of thing. So I love these strategies as far as, looking at swings as well. Isn't Ethereum leading BTC, so that BTC should go up too with some lag? Is Ethereum leading Bitcoin? I feel like for the last little while it hasn't been. I honestly haven't been following Ethereum all that closely. But to me, as far as looking at fib levels, Ethereum has not gained close to the same fib levels yet. What kind of a percentage are we looking at, though? I assume Ethereum has probably made more of a percentage recovery. 154%. Oh, Jesus. Very similar, but Bitcoin's actually recovered more than Ethereum. I did not expect that. But again, that could all change very quickly here. If this triangle is going to get a measured move, I mean, those ascending triangles, they can break out pretty violently, you guys. That's very interesting. I might start feeling out Ethereum for some scalps. Just looking for some long scalps on Ethereum, but then when I do get into scalps, I like to close at least a quarter to half of my position quite quickly, but then hope to catch a runner with the rest. So I'm not necessarily swinging at a home run, but I'm open to the possibilities of it. I find that I do a lot better and it's a lot less stressful if I'm kind of laddering in and out of positions. Just helps take some of the edge off. Engine, actually, that daily chart I just pointed out on Ethereum, looking for those Fibonacci pullbacks and higher sloping W's. Actually, these weren't even sloping upwards. Well, whatever. Either way, I saw basically the same type of a break of structure in the charts here. So basically, here we had a low, and this is just a 1 minute, you guys, but this was just a scalp on Engine that I took. So I had this low here, had a lower low. This white line here was the lower high at that point because it's the highest point between the low and lower low. Here we had that break of structure. And then just basically looking for pullbacks after that. So I ended up seeing that we were getting back down towards these levels. So that's when I actually ended up pulling this Fibonacci. So I was thinking if I could find some W's in the 786, 886 fib pocket kind of a thing, that I would be interested in longing this general area. Basically anywhere from the 786 down towards the full retrace. That's kind of where I'm looking for entry with a little bit of wiggle room on the stop loss. But with the advanced trend, we had some W's coming into the charts right as we were kind of in my buying pocket. It's red right now. That's throwing me off a little bit. But basically coming back into my buy levels. So I ended up taking a little bit of a swing. And basically I'm just looking to ladder out of my position at these supply zones. Same thing, just looking at basic structure. We have this low, lower low. This supply zone matches up with what would be the highest point between the low and lower low. So that's my resistance level, basically. Even got a W in there. I mean, that's just added confluence, but I already had a limit sell to close a quarter of my position there. I'll take another quarter if we end up hitting this structure over here, another supply zone there. And after that, I'm just going to basically pull out little chunks of the position as it climbs, if it climbs after that. Because you can see I already have my stop loss and a very small profit, because after I start taking some profits like that, I don't want to lose on my position anymore. And since it's just a 1 minute chart too, I'm not looking at holding it forever. But if it does keep climbing, then I'm open to that idea, right? So I'll kind of try and keep my eye on this a little bit over the stream here. Yeah, what's everyone else been trading? Solana? Good for scalps. Numbers are easier. Solana scares me a little bit because it's been so volatile, but I guess I could just turn down my leverage a little bit. I haven't really been playing around with Solana personally, which is, you know, unfortunate for myself because I know a lot of people have been making beautiful gains on Solana, but it's just not something I've been interested in trading recently. AVAX, nice. I actually had a little bit of a futures grid bot running on AVAX for a little bit, but I only had that running for a couple days, and I never had it set up as efficiently as it could. I ended up getting a very small profit on it, but had I just entered a regular position, it would have been better off. So I just ended up closing my position basically, but that's all I traded with AVAX. I can definitely pull up the chart though. Eve's been crushing Sol. Yeah. You have been, haven't you, Eve? Let's bring up Solana. Bring up the BingX chart. Holy man. Just a straight rocket ship. Look at this beautiful wedge break, though. Just basically... Actually, here, let me get these out of the way. Actually, you could even say more so something like this. That's more where the wedge breakout was. Basically after that, yeah, I mean, it had its little breakout. Had a little pullback. Where's that? What Fibonacci is that? I'm curious now. From the little rally it had here and then pulled back after breakout. Look at that, 786 fib. Pretty much pinpoint right there. Get that pullback and then it was just off to the races. Actually, I want to take a look at Engine for that exact reason. I know I've pointed that out a few times now. Oops. Courtesy of Rocket Man pointed this out to me. Basically, something very similar to that. I would even more so something like that. A beautiful wedge break, and that's why I've been accumulating a little bit of Engine, is just for, I know nothing about the project, I'm more of a chart guy, but this is one of the altcoins I've been accumulating ever since that was pointed out to me. That's just a beautiful wedge. On top of that, just, I mean, again, going to my rules, right, we have our exact touch points, followed by a month or two here, about 5 weeks of consolidating right along that resistance and then breaking above it and getting that perfect retest. That's a nice looking chart in my opinion. I mean, yes, obviously it has seen some pretty, I think this one's even had some crazy gains already, but when you consider that it could look something like this, those are very serious chart patterns. If it catches a little bit of momentum or the community gets all crazy about it the way they did with Solana, I have no idea what it's like on Engine if that's a possibility. But that's a nice looking chart in my opinion. Yeah, we might see some kind of a pullback, but as it stands right now, I mean, it just kind of looks like we're staircasing. So I'm real curious to see what this one does over the next, and I mean, since this is a weekly chart, I'm curious to see what happens with this in the next couple of months. Eve, what time frame were you trading Solana, out of curiosity? Ronald, you as well, if you've been trading Solana. Like, I'm just looking at the daily here, but I can definitely zoom in for you. That's a kind of a scary looking break of structure, to be honest. Kind of be tempted to swing at some shorts. Not yet, but if we got some kind of a pullback. Just because, again, looking at basic market structure on the 4-hour here, I mean, we had this high, a higher high at that point. This would be our higher low. We broke it, got a candle close above this level, so there's our higher high again. Higher low is at that level, and then we actually started closing candles below that. And then another one below that. So if we get a pullback up towards this level, I mean, be a little bit cautious, guys. That might be grounds for, I guess, a rejection. Just seeing that lower high structure come into play. I think it'll largely depend what Bitcoin does. But if Solana is, you know, I've heard a few people talking about the money, the gains that have gone out of Solana, or the gains that people have made with Solana. That money is eventually going to rotate into other things. So if people start taking a lot of their profits out of Solana, they might be at the point where, hey, we had this structure break. If we get some kind of a bounce like that, maybe people are going to be looking to scale out of their positions, just trying to get some kind of a bounce before they end up selling some of their spot bags. Just kind of looking for that structure break and then waiting for the retest before confirming the sell, basically. Obviously, anything can happen here. If the market is going to go full send, obviously, then Solana, like if it ends up even breaking back above this box and consolidating, I'm going to be open to the idea that if we get some sort of a candle close above this box up here, then I think, well, we're probably just going to carry on to the upside. But just a couple levels to watch for as far as the 4-hour time frame goes. 15-second on Solana, that's terrifying. I feel like I can't keep up with the 15-second. I can do the 15-second. I refuse to go lower than that. I've tried the 5-second. I didn't like it. 1 minute is usually where I'm most comfortable, to be honest. Still a degenerate time frame, but I like trading the 1 minute. 1 hour and 15 minutes with the 1 minute for entry. That's good to hear, Eve. That's the best way to do it when you're, and I mean, when I talk about trading the 1 minute, I obviously have an idea of what the longer time frames are doing. And that's why I start these sessions by zooming way out and zooming in as I start to look into the degen time frames. Because, yeah, obviously, you don't want to be trading just off how the 1 minute looks, but when you can get an overall picture and you're just more so zooming in to get a more pinpoint accurate entry, and even just having that potential, maybe a little wiggle room if you're playing the larger time frame anyways, maybe you can kind of ladder into your position to bring your average entry down a little more. That being said, that doesn't mean tripling down on your position. I'm more talking like splitting a position into 3 instead, or 2 or 4, depending how many you want, right? But when I say laddering into positions, I think some people misunderstand and think that means doubling down. But when I'm laddering in, I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm splitting my order up. – 15 minutes is your other larger time frame chart. Yeah, I'm with you, Ronald. 15 minutes seems like an eternity now. 15 seconds is a money printer for the NASDAQ. Oh man, looking at those short time frames, oh, that is just, it's overwhelming. And it can really, like, I want to be clear to you guys, scalping on degen time frames is not for everybody. I like doing the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 3 minute, sometimes the 15-second, but understand that it can lead to, you know, over trading, revenge trading, over leveraging, basically all those things we're supposed to avoid as traders. So just be aware if you're going to try and go down that road. There's a whole nother element to scalping those shorter time frames because, you know, on a 4-hour chart, if you're planning a swing trade, you have so much time to plan for it. And that candle, you have about 4 hours to kind of figure out where you're going to enter on that candle. Whereas, you know, on a 15-second chart, well, if you are at all uncertain and you drag your feet for 5 seconds, it could be a totally different trade. Now you're talking my language there, Ronald. When you're high on chocolate and coffee, I call that a hippie speedball with wafts of weed. So yeah, as it stands right now, where would some levels be as far as Solana to maybe pull back to? I'd consider pulling a fib from somewhere like this, just because this was kind of the range before it shot up here. Again, just looking for some kind of a Fibonacci pull, and that's right in this structure level here. There was a bunch of trading here, so there is some good structure there. I could absolutely see us ending up pulling back a little further, especially the fact that, like I was talking about Fibonacci's earlier, the fact that we've got some candle bodies closing below the 382. Even if we get some kind of a bounce, I think it makes sense that we would actually test some of these lower fibs at this point. Again, I haven't been following Solana closely. I have not been trading it. But this is just kind of how I look at other coins as well. What is another random trend line I can kind of find here would be like, not everybody likes diagonal trend lines. I do. But again, I like at least 3 touch points before a break. Like if maybe we came down and tested this a couple more times and then break and retest, I'd consider a failure of that line. But so far, I mean, there's kind of same thing as I was talking about with Bitcoin. There's a lot of these big gaps with Solana because it's pumped so aggressively, but there is still at least those nice support levels, some nice buy zones. AVAX on the 3-minute. Yes, I can check that out. 1 second. AVAX. Or actually, sorry, before I hop over to AVAX, I do want to hop over to the 1 hour, just because Eve said she was trading the 1 hour and the 15-minute chart. I kind of got sidetracked there. More support levels. Potential support there. Just basically looking as, we've dropped a serious level here. So just basically checking our next levels, right? I mean, bottom of this range right here, maybe we could end up flipping this resistance into support. That would be great to see. What kind of a fib are we looking at if we pull from here? That is a 786. If that is I don't know how I feel about that pull, honestly. I guess it is from a nice little range here, but I would like to see this, in this case, for Solana on the 1 hour. I would like to see a break of some kind of a downtrend. But again, I would like it to have a third exact touch point, maybe just to squeeze just a little bit higher, tap this, and then get kind of a break. Then I would like to see it start staircasing higher. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the structure of Solana right now. It kind of looks like it broke its higher low trajectory. Also, something that I love to consider is we're starting to get these warning shots. That's what I love to use these W's as confluence, you guys, is these are setting lower low reversal warnings, so the trend has potentially shifted here. We still don't have a sell signal. Like, I would like to see a lower high matching up with that to consider it a sell signal. But this is just a little bit of a warning at this point that the trend may be shifting. 15-minute. I mean, hey, as as far as what I was just talking about, we do have a series of lower lows and lower high W's coming into play. This one right here would have been a beautiful sell signal. As soon as we had basically this low, lower low, we had this high, lower high. Right now, I mean, yeah, you could swing at a short on that with a tight scalp just above this structure here. Obviously, trends have to reverse at some point, but the trend is your friend until the end, and those W's are trending to the downside, so... As far as the 15-minute goes, that looks like some resistance to me. What are the other indicators saying? A little bit overbought here, a little bit of a red warning. Yeah, there might be more downside for Solana soon. Maybe test down to this green box here. All right. AVAX, 3-minute I was going to look at, right? Three-minute, yeah, now we're talking my jam. As far as the 3-minute goes, the W's are starting to give... We got a bit of mixed signals from the W's right now. I do like that we started setting higher highs. We had this higher low here, but then that was quickly shifted back down. There's kind of a mishmash of signals here. I don't know, not really anything clear right there. This would have been a nice buy as far as a double bottom. My reasoning for that is basically what I was talking about before. As far as just looking at basic market structure, we had this low and we had a lower low. So this would have been our lower high, and you can see that we did in fact break that structure there. Came back, got a full retrace, but a perfect double bottom there. So that's one of those cases where, hey, we have that break of structure. If I saw that we started to pull back, that's where I start to look for these fib levels. And you can see that it actually dropped slightly below that fib pocket, but again, held above the local low there. So that's kind of more where I would have been looking to buy and already starting to scale out. And when I got these W's here, obviously leaving some on the table in case this really turns into a runner. But as far as looking at a 3-minute scalp, that's kind of how I treat that. Does this fit my touch point criteria? It looks like it does. That's BTC USD 15-minute. Which chart is that? What exchange? Where... Oh yeah, sorry, Bubbles, did I answer your question there about the 3-minute? I know I never really... just the way I would look at scalping this, it's kind of hard to say right now because there is the mixed signals and we already got that. I guess what you could look for is sometimes when I get this kind of market structure where, like I said, we had this little break of structure here, sometimes I'll just leave that Fibonacci pulled. At this point, we can actually pull it slightly higher. And sometimes I'll try and play that same entry repeatedly. I've had this happen where I've been able to play the same trade 3 or 4 times. Obviously, this is just confluence, and every time you tap back into support, obviously, it's getting a little bit weaker, but sometimes it works out that way, that with this market structure break, that sometimes you can end up playing that same fib pocket over and over, as long as we don't end up losing these lows, obviously. But that's where it's nice if you can start seeing that, hey, reversal warnings in these areas, bullish divergences, that kind of thing. That's kind of where I start looking to for confluences and that kind of thing. And I know that, like, if you were looking as far as trying to find a trend reversal, for example, yeah, this definitely has warnings that it could. But obviously, that's just when you're looking at such a short time frame. You have to remember to play whatever chart you're playing. Like, you're not going to enter on a 3 minute and expect to get the type of move out of a 1 hour chart, for example, right? It's looking right now like it wants to set a higher W. It's not valid until the candle closes, obviously, but yeah, basically a rule of thumb I've kind of started to hold myself to, and I know a lot of you are probably familiar at this point, is just like, this isn't concrete for me or anything like that, but I always try and remember that whatever time frame I'm entering a position on, I try to remember to start downsizing my position within about 10 candles. So, if I'm playing the 1 hour chart, then within 10 hours, I should be considering either starting to take some profits, cutting some losses, just breaking even, just cutting down on my risk, doing whatever I have to do, just as kind of a guideline, as just something to consider if my trade hasn't done what I thought, if I'm starting to lose confidence in it. After a certain amount of time, is it worth maybe just scaling back the risk a little bit? So this is one of those times that if I was entering, kind of in, like I said, I usually like to see the structure break, then pulling back to the 786, 886, or even full retracement if I want to ladder a position into 3. Then obviously by the time we get to these levels, I'm already considering taking profits anyways. Or depending, if you're kind of going by W's, that's another thing. Sometimes I'll just wait until I get my next W, and that's just a sign that, hey, you know what, this could technically be a reversal, so that's where I'm going to start scaling out. So just a couple different things I watch for. It's obviously hard to say how I would have played this because this is just playing in hindsight. Depends how close I was watching the chart and that kind of thing, but that's generally how I like to look at scalps like this. That 15-minute Bitcoin chart, you were asking me if that fits my criteria. What exchange is that on? Oh, might get stopped out of my eng long soon. Oh, that's Bitstamp. Okay. And that was the 15-minute. Ooh. Those W's are concerning. That line there does not meet my criteria. This one's a little bit messy, but I would consider this one at least because it has that 1, 2, 3rd exact touch before it broke above, and even though it pulled back in a little bit here. Let me just turn off the colors here. I just want to check something. Oh geez. Yeah, the fact that we have this low, because this is a green candle here, lower low, this would be our lower high, and we did technically just break that. I mean, a pullback to a Fibonacci, this might still be a valid breakout, which could end up breaking us past this other line. But yeah, I would have actually liked to see this candle here test this line perfectly. That would have been more ideal for me personally. I'm kind of picky about that. You know, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but that's just the way I look at diagonal trend lines. I just like exact wicks. Since we had this structure break here, let's just look. Maybe get some kind of a pullback. If we did end up getting some kind of a pullback, that's more so where I would like my buy zone. Ideally, finding a bit of a higher low in this same fib pocket where it was finding support here. I would love to see the price pull back here and then form, like, let's say reversal warnings or something like that in this area. That would be ideal for me. What do we got for W's? Did a couple disappear? I could have swore we had a, or maybe that wasn't a closed candle. Never mind. Either way, I have a hard time trading against the trend of W's now as well. I mean, I do play the odd breakout like this, but I find they're just a little bit riskier. I mean, a lot of people won't even trade chart patterns. It's just a little bit riskier is all. But if you can get that pullback to the Fibonacci levels, at least your stop loss is a lot tighter. But I have a hard time pulling the trigger against something like this. We have just a series of low W's. I have to assume we're soon going to find a lower high W as well. I'd actually be more interested in shorting that kind of a move, I think. Although that being said, the ideal level for that is quite a ways away. So maybe you could catch some kind of a scalp or a swing to the upside of this. But if I was to start looking for rejection points, you guys know, again, same thing, same Fibonacci's. I would like to see if we do get some kind of a breakout. I'd feel a lot more comfortable shorting, let's say, a bounce up to that 786, 886 fib pocket. You know, if we get some kind of a staircase and we get up to these levels, that's where an ideal setup for me is I see kind of a lower high W coming into play in that kind of the zone. That's a setup that I love as well. Stare at enough charts and you just start to notice these things over time, right? Let's see, what kind of a fib would we be looking at? This point way down here. See, that's one thing that concerns me a little bit as far as this wedge breakout as well. That I think at this point, the fact that we were even closing below the 618 a little bit, I wouldn't be all too surprised to see these lower fib levels. I mean, obviously it is possible the 618's holding on to that. Just I find so often that these ones get respected more as the final pivot. And I'm open to the idea of more downside. Hello, Max. Good to see ya. Yes, I have been using the trend collection a little bit more on my degen timeframes. Oh, just checking in on my little engine long here. Yes. Yeah, here we go. So I haven't played around with it too much yet. I was doing a little bit of scalping with it. Let's just clear out these indicators here. Actually, let's clear out all my drawings. Let's take a fresh look at these indicators here. I've been loving having these overlapping, so I still do have the advanced trend up because I love the candle colors and it just goes so nicely with this. and the trend collection here. That's where I'm getting these buy and sell signals here, you guys. Basically a trailing stop loss that it also places for you. Actually, this one's pointing out a lower high W. So nice tight scalp there if a guy was trying to short that. I personally like to keep my stop losses a little bit looser if I am taking that kind of a trade, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to take a short on this right now. But that is, you know, when you can get these, like maybe if we get up closer to this stop level once again, I would consider swinging at it here. But yeah, so basically my settings for this, guys, is pretty much right out of the box. If I go to my settings, all I did is I switched it to scalp mode and I clicked enable, and this basically just lets the indicator automatically set up the settings how it figures is optimal for these time frames. So I've just been doing that. When I bring it up, does this look sharp. Like I said the other day, these indicators put the art in chart. I just love how these two overlap together like this. It's just beautiful. I could just sit here all day and look at a few, have this up on 3 different monitors. I love it. But yeah, I've also thrown the core trend up. Just sometimes it helps point out these little pivots here. And it just, again, with the advanced trend colors like that, with the inverted colors on the candles, it's just so sharp. Just all the green flashing together, all the red flashing together. I've been using the volume delta a little bit, just kind of looking for a point of control. So you know, even though this trailing stop is down here, maybe, you know, there's a little bit of wiggle room up there. There's still volume basically up to this structure back here. Would be a safer stop loss with a little less leverage. But if you're going for a high leverage kind of a scalp, like the degenerate type of thing that I do, with these lower high W's, that is a nice tight stop if you were in a scalp and that kind of thing. I don't want to open myself up to another position while I'm here with you guys because I already have this one here. Good to see it hasn't been stopped out yet. And nice to see that this is actually the auto charting tools here did set this high or low as well. So I'm just going to keep my stop loss where it is, because if that structure breaks where that indicator thinks that we'll have this high or low structure, if that breaks, I want to be out of the rest of my position anyways. And like I said, I already closed a quarter of it back here, so. Oh yeah, nice. Definitely going to check out your video when I'm done here. Which, I mean, I've been going for almost an hour here. I probably will wrap up fairly soon here, you guys. Is there anything else you guys want me to touch on? Anything you want me to go over with these indicators? I still got a lot more testing to do with this trend collection. I was actually just starting to do a little bit of back testing because you guys know I love coming up with my own strategies with the indicators. You've obviously, a lot of you are becoming quite familiar with a couple of them now at this point. So just having this new indicator here, you know that I'm got to start back testing shit and I got to come up with a new strategy of my own again. So it's going to be fun to kind of piece a few things together here. So I do have a bunch of back testing I got to do, but that's a part of charting, you guys. And that's something that I want to touch on that's really important as far as risk management goes, you guys. We can have the same trend lines, the same charts, the same indicators, same settings and everything. And I can promise you we would trade the market completely different. So in my opinion, it's very important to do back testing and find out what kind of setups in the charts actually catch your eye, what works for you, because I can tell you something that I just automatically draws my eye to it and I can pick it up, you know, 9 out of 10 times or whatever. But if it's not something that you're likely to catch with your own eye, then you may as well have your own strategy, right? And back testing is something that's super important as far as that. If you do have a paid version of TradingView, that's where this replay feature really comes in handy, so that you can go back to a totally random point in the chart and just every time you see, let's say you have a set of 3 rules that you follow before entering a position, you can just actually do it in real time without actually putting money on the line, just to kind of figure out your probabilities and journal it, right? Mark down what happened, if it went right, if it went wrong, things that you might have looked over. Did it follow all your rules or not? All that sort of thing, guys. It's very important. Can I put on core trend again? Yes. 1 second. Let me... which chart was I on there? Oh, here we go. Here, let me just get a nice... something like so. Yeah, that is a sharp looking chart. I keep them pretty clean. I don't put too many things on my charts anymore. I almost feel like I'm getting rusty at charting because I feel like these indicators do everything for me and I don't have to make my own trend lines anymore. But it looks hella sharp doing it. Yeah, beautiful sell signal there, beautiful buy signal, beautiful sell signal. Like, man, when this thing gets going, obviously in choppy ranges, it can get chopped up a little bit. But when it starts getting on these tears, man, those are some nice signals. Nice tight stop running along with it. Hungover streams on New Year's Day. Yeah, that could be a thing. Oh, nice. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, I've been really loving it, guys. This community is growing so much, and I'm sure for those of you who are new around here, I mean, a lot of you guys have been here just as long as I have, but I'm sure you've noticed already, it's a super helpful community. Everybody's in it together. Great community to be a part of, and just the fact that you are here learning, you're taking time coming to these sessions, myself and other coaches. Great community to learn from. And like I was talking about with everyone seeing charts differently, it's so nice. Like sometimes all it takes is somebody to say something random, just a way that somebody else looks at something, and it can just totally change the way you look at charts and just help something click. Hopefully something I say in these streams is one of those things that happens for you. That's why we're here. Haven't been kicked out yet. Well, that's good. And that's the thing, I haven't noticed, there's never been any drama in here or anything. Everyone gets along super good and super knowledgeable. It's just a great community, so. Yeah, other than that, guys, is there anything else last minute that you want me to go over at all? How's everyone doing?
There you are.
Got microphone noise, but no one's talking. Oh, all good. Okay, guys, well, I think I'm going to wrap up then. We've been at it for about an hour here. Hopefully you picked up some good, useful insights out of this stream. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you found this stream useful. If you're here with me live, obviously you're already a member in the Discord. So be sure, one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is since a lot of you guys are new here, be sure to check out the dashboard and check out the legend board on the MDX ALGO here. It's basically a fantasy portfolio type of a thing. It's a league. It's free for members. It's weekly and monthly picks, and you can actually win some free crypto. Some actual decent prizes there for you. So that's super cool. And as well, we are now offering, this is super exciting that we're now offering one-on-one mentoring for those who do want a little more personal experience with help navigating the markets, working on trading strategies, risk management, and all that sort of thing as well. So yeah, with that, guys, no one has anything else, I'll still be around while I upload things here, but I'm going to wrap up the stream here. So if you have any last minute questions, don't hesitate. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.